Imagine a world where the ocean's vastness is marked not by life, but by an eerie silence, the disappearance of giants that once ruled beneath the waves. There was a time when the blue whale, the largest animal ever to grace our planet, sang its haunting songs across every ocean, a living pulse marking the rhythm of the sea. These colossal beings, growing up to 100 feet long and weighing as much as 200 tons, were once so numerous that their presence was a defining feature of marine life. But the dawn of the industrial age brought technologies that would change the ocean's narrative forever. Suddenly, mighty whales could be hunted systematically and mercilessly by fleets of steam-powered vessels wielding explosive harpoons, weapons designed to bring the deepest, largest creatures to their knees. Between the late 19th century and the mid-20th century, global blue whale populations plummeted from an estimated 340,000 to perhaps as few as 5,000 individuals, a staggering 98.5% reduction. This catastrophic decline was not caused by nature but by humans, driven by greed for whale oil and other products. As these ancient beings vanished, the ocean lost more than giants. It lost a vital, resonant song that once echoed through its depths. The history of whaling reads like a dark epic, a tale where a once thriving and abundant species became a ghostly shadow of its former self. In the early 20th century, whaling intensified with the advent of new technologies. Mechanized boats, explosive harpoons, and floating factories capable of processing whales at sea. The blue whale, once elusive and difficult to hunt due to its immense size and speed, suddenly became vulnerable on an unprecedented scale. In the Antarctic alone, hundreds of thousands were slaughtered in a frenzy that lasted decades. The ocean became a hunting ground, and death followed in the wake of every ship. But while industrial whaling wiped out immense numbers, protection came far too late. Even after international bans and moratoriums were introduced in the 1970s and 80s, some whaling continued illegally or under weak regulation, inflicting last blows on already fragile populations. This story of near annihilation leaves an unsettling question hanging in the air. How does an ocean cope with the silence left by such titanic losses? As the decades passed, the impact of these losses began to ripple through ocean ecosystems. Blue whales were not mere wanderers of the sea. Their presence played a crucial role in the ocean's health and nutrient cycles. Their massive bodies transported nutrients vertically, fertilizing plankton blooms that underpin complex food webs. With their near extinction, these essential processes stalled, changing the very fabric of marine life. The absence of these giants likely left open niches and shifted predator-prey relationships in ways scientists are still striving to understand. Perhaps more hauntingly, their ghostly disappearances created an oceanic void, emptiness where echoes had once been. It is in this silence that myths and fears gather, an unspoken warning that what we destroy may be lost forever if we do not listen closely enough. What other unseen consequences did their loss imprint on oceans, far beyond the human eye? The silence deepened even as the 20th century wore on, with blue whale numbers hitting critically low levels. Their songs, once booming undersea symphonies, became rare echoes on ocean currents. However, the story did not end in despair. Underneath layers of bureaucracy and international struggle, a remarkable but fragile hope began to emerge. Through a combination of moratoriums, strict protection laws put in place by the International Whaling Commission, and changing societal values, the hunting of blue whales finally came to a halt. It was a victory earned too late for many, but a crucial chance to let nature attempt a slow healing. Scientists started to notice pockets of blue whales returning to some of their feeding grounds, flashing glimpses of dorsal fins and hearing faint traces of their haunting songs drifting across the water once more. But was this merely a flicker or the stirring of a true comeback? This slow revival is nothing short of miraculous, but it carries whispers of fragility and mystery. Blue whales reproduce slowly, they mature late, and their calves take years to grow, meaning that even under the best conditions, recovery is a matter of decades rather than years. These resilient whales face a new set of threats: collisions with ships still frequent along busy shipping lanes, entanglement in fishing gear, habitat changes fueled by warming oceans, and noise pollution disrupting their crucial communication. The ocean is no longer the silent guardian it once was. It vibrates with the hum of human activity, and these giants tread a dangerous path back from the brink. Yet, every sighting, every recording of a song, is a victory, a beacon of hope piercing the darkness. Could these blue whales be the living proof that destruction is not always permanent, that nature might reclaim some of what we have stolen? The revival story is layered with shades of mystery as scientists probe deeper into the lives of these giants. Satellite tracking and underwater microphones reveal astonishing behaviors. Long migrations following ancient routes, deep dives into dark, cold waters, and complex social structures formed through song and movement. Each new discovery challenges old assumptions and fuels curiosity about how these creatures have adapted to modern oceans altered by mankind. There's an eerie beauty in watching these immense beings glide silently through their watery domain, a reminder that our knowledge of the ocean remains incomplete and full of secrets. Could the ocean's depths harbor even greater mysteries related to these giants? Perhaps undiscovered behaviors or hidden refuges preserving their lineage against the odds. This intertwining of science and enigma sustains a compelling narrative, holding us in suspense between the known and the unknown. But the shadows of the past persist, underscoring a silent warning amid the hopeful signs. The blue whale story is intertwined with a narrative of human impact, both catastrophic and redemptive. Their near extinction serves as a stark testament to our power to disrupt the planet on a scale few other species have experienced. It also challenges us to question our stewardship of the ocean moving forward. As the ocean giants cautiously return, we must ask, will we protect them, or will history repeat itself in a new chapter of loss? The stakes have never been higher, and the consequences of failure ripple far beyond these magnificent creatures. They are sentinels of the ocean's health, emblematic of the vast, connected tapestry of marine life dependent on the giant's survival. What role will we play in this unfolding drama? Finally, this act closes with a lingering sense of awe and haunting beauty, a call to listen closely to the ocean's quiet resurgence. The blue whales are not just icons of natural grandeur but living symbols of resilience and fragility. Their gradual comeback invites us to consider the ocean's boundless capacity for recovery and mystery, but also the delicate balance that sustains life beneath the waves. In their silence, we hear a story of loss and hope, a tale that challenges us to protect what remains and imagine a future where ocean giants once again roam freely. What remains to be discovered about these majestic beings? And what will the ocean sound like when their songs amplify again? The waters are waiting to tell us their story, if only we will listen. There is something almost unbelievable about the story unfolding off the coast of California, where the giant blue whales, hunted relentlessly to the edge of extinction, are making a remarkable comeback. For decades, their numbers dwindled in silence, with the shadow of industrial whaling looming heavy over the oceans. Yet today, scientific evidence reveals a stunning recovery. The California blue whale population now numbers around 2,200 individuals, an astonishing 97% of their historical levels before whaling decimated their ranks. This makes them the only blue whale population in the world confirmed to have rebounded this successfully, a fact that challenges our assumptions about extinction and restoration in marine life. With each majestic sighting off the coast, these leviathans show they are not lost to history but very much a living, breathing part of our oceans again. How could such enormous creatures, hunted so mercilessly, find their way back from the abyss? The tale of this resurgence is not simply one of nature reclaiming its right, but a story woven from science, conservation, and cooperative human effort. California's waters serve as both a refuge and a testament to what determined protection can achieve. Beginning in the late 20th century, international bans on commercial whaling halted the slaughter, but the recovery process was slow and uncertain. Scientists and conservationists carefully monitored whale populations, mapping migration routes and documenting calving grounds to ensure their safety. Crucially, shipping lanes were adjusted and ship speeds enforced near whale hotspots to prevent deadly collisions, a major cause of mortality among these giants. Moreover, fishing industries adapted their gear to reduce entanglements, another silent killer. These combined efforts, involving governmental agencies, researchers, and industry stakeholders, created a fragile yet hopeful sanctuary for blue whales to thrive once more. Despite the apparent success, the mystery of these creatures' slow and cautious return invites deeper questions. Blue whales have a long lifespan, but their reproduction rate is notoriously slow. A single calf every 2 to 3 years after a lengthy gestation period. This biological pace means population growth is a gradual phenomenon, requiring decades of stability and protection. Even with increasing sightings and a growing population, the blue whales are vulnerable, still facing threats that shadow their path to recovery. Ship strikes, although reduced, still claim several whales annually, a number above the legal potential biological removal limit. Ocean noise pollution disrupts communication, and changes in prey availability caused by shifting oceanographic conditions may further stress populations. Each new challenge casts an uncertain veil over their future, inviting us to consider: can these giants continue their journey back to the ocean's depths without interruption? The waters of California have become a living laboratory, where new technologies allow scientists to peel back layers of mystery surrounding these marine titans. Satellite tracking reveals intricate migration patterns, showing blue whales follow ancient routes from Mexico to Alaska, an epic journey timed with the swarming of krill, their primary food source. Underwater microphones record haunting whale songs, spreading over vast distances, serving as both communication and echo of their enduring presence. The behavioral insights reveal social structures once thought simple are far more complex, with whales seemingly coordinating their movements during feeding. This backdrop of data fuels awe and wonder. How much more remains hidden about these giants who navigate the deep, using sound and intuition in a world largely beyond human comprehension? Each discovery broadens our appreciation of their resilience and adaptation, while deepening the ocean's allure as a realm of untold secrets. Interwoven with scientific breakthroughs is a subtle undertone of suspense, a reminder that the ocean is an unpredictable and often brutal world. The blue whale's revival is a triumph against the odds, yet the tiny margin between survival and catastrophe remains razor-thin. Continued human activity threatens their habitat and safety. Increasing ship traffic and potential oil exploration off the California coast could reverse the fragile gains. Moreover, climate change poses an ominous challenge, disrupting ocean currents, altering prey populations, and warming waters in unpredictable ways. Nature's comeback is not guaranteed, and the calm surface belies a simmering tension beneath. Will these behemoths thrive or face a new chapter of struggle and decline? The ocean holds its breath as the balance of survival delicately teeters. Beyond the scientific and ecological narrative, there is a profoundly emotional element to this story, one of hope reborn through respect and cooperation. Conservation here is not a lone battle but a shared journey, involving researchers, policymakers, shipping companies, and communities who have embraced a new vision of coexistence. Whale-watching tours, once rare, now offer glimpses of these giants, inspiring awe and fostering public support for preservation. Every breath a whale takes, every splash of its massive tail, rekindles a bond between humanity and the wild ocean. This recovery becomes a symbol not only of nature's resilience but of human potential to right past wrongs. How does this rekindled relationship with giants beneath the waves reshape our understanding of responsibility and legacy? Yet, to fully grasp this story's weight is to embrace its paradoxes. Though California blue whales are thriving, other blue whale populations remain perilously low, some at only 1% of their historic numbers. The recovery is a localized miracle, not a global norm. It reveals how protection and management can win battles unevenly, leaving us with both cause for celebration and a sense of foreboding. What lessons does this hold for endangered species worldwide? Which factors tip the scales between survival and extinction? The California blue whale's tale thus becomes a narrative mirror reflecting the larger challenges faced by marine conservation in an era marked by environmental upheaval and rapid human impact. As this act closes, the ocean's vastness feels both familiar and alien, brimming with life yet shadowed by past tragedies and future uncertainties. The California blue whale's resurgence offers a vibrant thread of hope through this complex tapestry, a living proof that thoughtful intervention can bend the arc of decline. Yet, Their quiet return is also a humbling reminder of how close we came to losing not only these magnificent creatures, but the ocean's deeper mysteries altogether. What untold wonders remain hidden beneath the waves, waiting for another chance to emerge? The ocean today asks us to listen, watch, and protect its giants, not just as relics of the past, but as pioneers of a rejuvenated future. Beneath the waves, beyond the tales of colossal blue whales, lies another enigmatic struggle: the survival of ancient mariners whose shells have endured millions of years, the sea turtles. Among these, the hawksbill turtle stands out, not just for its distinctive pointed beak and stunningly patterned shell, but for the harrowing path it treads on the precipice of extinction. Classified globally as critically endangered, hawksbills face threats so pervasive and complex, their very existence seems to hang by a fragile thread. For centuries, these turtles have been relentlessly hunted for their beautiful shells, coveted in the black market for jewelry and ornaments, a grim fate that once pushed their populations to the brink. Today, habitat loss, illegal trade, bycatch in fishing gear, pollution, and climate change compound their perils, creating a labyrinthine web of challenges. Yet, strange and hopeful signs emerge from carefully protected coastlines, where dedicated conservation efforts strive to turn the tide. What mysterious forces and human choices will determine the fate of these spectacular creatures? Recent conservation initiatives present a mosaic of progress and peril. Along the shores of places like Qatar, the UAE, and the Caribbean, hawksbill turtles continue their ancient pilgrimage to designated nesting sites, where hopeful scientists and volunteers work tirelessly to shield nests from predators and human disruption. In Qatar, for instance, the 2025 nesting season saw over 8,000 hatchlings released into the wild, a hopeful surge bolstered by projects started decades ago that combine habitat protection with education and community involvement. This effort reflects a subtle dance between science and nature, where DNA sampling, satellite tracking, and genetic studies seek to unlock the secrets of these elusive mariners. Yet, despite these advances, the global population remains perilously low, and many nests continue to fall victim to environmental changes and human threats. How long can we sustain these fragile lifelines in the face of relentless pressures? The hawksbill's existence is tied intricately to vibrant coral reef ecosystems, their survival both a testament to and a pillar of marine biodiversity. These turtles play an essential role by feeding on sponges and jellyfish, thus maintaining coral health and balance within their habitats. This interconnectedness implies that their decline sends shockwaves beyond individual species, threatening the very reefs that shelter numerous marine organisms. Warming seas and ocean acidification pose an insidious threat by degrading coral reefs, erasing critical habitats and food sources. The turtles' return to nesting beaches feels like a ghostly echo of past abundance. Yet with each successive year, environmental stressors intensify, presenting an ominous puzzle. Can hawksbill turtles and their coral homes endure an ocean increasingly hostile to life? Their slow reproductive cycle adds a haunting layer of vulnerability. Hawksbill turtles usually nest every 2 to 3 years, laying small clutches of eggs in hidden sand nests often relocated by conservationists to protect them from rising tides or predators. Most hatchlings face a perilous journey. From the moment they crack open their shells, they confront predators, disorientation from artificial lighting, and marine pollution. Out of hundreds of eggs, only a few survive to adulthood. Their path through juvenile stages is shrouded in mystery and danger. Conservation programs that track individual turtles with satellite tags bring us brief glimpses into this shadowy world, revealing long and hazardous migrations across vast ocean expanses. What unseen trials do these wanderers endure, and what forces guide their instinctual navigation across turbulent seas? Efforts to protect the hawksbill turtle have become a global call for collective action, blending traditional knowledge, scientific innovation, and policy initiatives. Regions like the Indian Ocean and Pacific Islands have implemented bans on the trade of turtle shell and established marine protected areas encompassing critical nesting and foraging sites. International cooperation under treaties like CITES aims to regulate and eliminate illegal trade, although enforcement remains a constant challenge. Education and community empowerment have proven vital, turning once indifferent or exploitative coastal communities into active participants in turtle conservation. These intertwined human and ecological stories create a storyline of hope and urgency, renewing the battle to save a species that serves as a living link between past and future ocean worlds. Yet, amid these rays of hope, shadows lurk. Pollution, especially plastics, and growing coastal developments threaten to smother beaches and choke marine environments. Climate change manifests in more frequent and intense storms, rising sea levels, and altered ocean currents, all disrupting the delicate timing and success of turtle breeding cycles. Additional stressors such as bycatch, where turtles are unintentionally caught and drowned in fishing gear, pose relentless daily dangers. Conservationists tirelessly refine solutions, proposing modified fishing gear, beach restoration projects, and wildlife corridors to safeguard hatchlings. Each win is a frail step forward in an ongoing struggle against indifference and environmental decay. Will these measures be enough to break the cycle of decline before it's too late? The hawksbill story is also a narrative of remarkable adaptation and resilience. Their ability to traverse thousands of miles between feeding and nesting grounds, their finely tuned homing instincts, and even their shell's unique design reflect millions of years of evolution. In some isolated populations, subtle genetic differences hint at fascinating adaptations to local environments, raising profound questions about the complexity enclosed within these ancient creatures. Scientists continue to probe the interplay of environment, genetics, and behavior in their relentless quest to understand the full spectrum of hawksbill biology. What secrets does this graceful navigator hold about surviving an ever-changing and often hostile marine landscape? In the end, the fate of the hawksbill turtle is a reflection of a broader truth, that every living creature in the ocean exists within a fragile web of interconnected threats and hopes. Their survival is not only crucial for marine ecosystems but also symbolizes humanity's ability to learn, act, and make amends for past mistakes. As conservationists, scientists, and ordinary people worldwide unite to protect these living treasures, we are reminded of the immense beauty and fragility of life beneath the waves. Can this magnificent turtle's story pivot from near extinction to a sustained revival? With each hatchling that journeys from shaded nest to rolling sea, we witness a poignant chapter in nature's ongoing saga, a battle for survival, against odds and through mysteries yet to be fully understood. Venture deep into the world of coral reefs, vibrant underwater cities that teem with life and color, yet are now on the front line of a silent, creeping catastrophe. These complex ecosystems depend on corals, which build their skeletons by secreting calcium carbonate, a process exquisitely sensitive to the chemistry of the surrounding seawater. But the oceans, absorbing vast amounts of atmospheric carbon dioxide, are undergoing a slow transformation. The water becomes more acidic as CO2 dissolves, lowering pH levels and reducing the availability of carbonate ions, the essential building blocks for coral skeletons. This phenomenon, known as ocean acidification, threatens to unravel the very foundations of coral reefs, leaving these underwater metropolises vulnerable to decay. Imagine the coral's fragile skeletons dissolving back into the water, their once sturdy structures weakening day by day. What future remains for reefs that support tens of thousands of marine species? The impacts of acidification are compounded by the relentless rise in sea temperatures, a double-edged sword that intensifies coral bleaching, a mysterious and devastating process. When waters become too warm, corals begin expelling their symbiotic algae called zooxanthellae, tiny life forms that provide corals with energy through photosynthesis and lend their vibrant hues. Without these algae, corals become ghostly white and starve for energy, a condition known as bleaching. This renders them vulnerable, weakening their ability to grow and reproduce. Acidification exacerbates these effects by pharmacologically disrupting corals' physiological processes, including their ability to calcify and repair damage. The synergy of heat stress and increased acidity creates a haunting scenario where corals bleach more readily and recover more slowly, tipping the balance from survival toward collapse. What secrets hide in this vicious interplay of chemistry and biology, threatening to erase vibrant reefs from the oceans? Studies reveal that different coral species respond variably to acidification and warming, with some exhibiting dramatic declines in growth rates and resistance. Crustose coralline algae, vital reef cementers that bind coral fragments and provide settlement cues for young corals, show particularly high sensitivity. Under increasing CO2 concentrations, these algae bleach and lose productivity, weakening their crucial role in maintaining reef structure and resilience. This degradation jeopardizes the reef's rebuilding capacity after storms or bleaching events, setting off a cascade of ecological consequences. Coral species that once dominated reefs face replacement by less diverse and structurally simpler organisms, an ecological flattening that diminishes habitat complexity and biodiversity. Will these coral communities adapt in time to survive a world increasingly hostile to their existence, or will reefs become mere shadows of their former grandeur? The loss of coral reefs resonates far beyond their immediate environments. These ecosystems form critical nurseries and feeding grounds for countless marine species, many of them commercially important fish. The disappearance or degradation of reefs triggers ripple effects across food webs, threatening the sustainability of fisheries and the health of adjacent marine habitats. Coral degradation also weakens natural coastal barriers, increasing the vulnerability of shorelines to storms, erosion, and flooding. Millions of people worldwide depend on reefs for food, income, and cultural identity, weaving the fate of coral reefs deeply into human lives. Thus, what begins as a chemical shift in ocean waters ultimately alters global economies and social fabric. How will societies adapt to the loss of these underwater lifelines, and what is the cost of inaction? The physiological damage inflicted by ocean acidification extends to fundamental biological processes within corals. Elevated CO2 disrupts photosynthesis by destabilizing the delicate balance of light and electron transport in zooxanthellae, leading to increased production of harmful reactive oxygen species. This oxidative stress damages both the algae and coral tissues, triggering bleaching and hampering recovery. Acidification also interferes with rubisco, the enzyme critical for carbon fixation during photosynthesis, reducing the energy available for growth and calcification. Reduced calcification rates not only slow reef growth but also compromise skeletal density, leaving corals more vulnerable to physical damage from waves or predators. The combined chemical and biological assaults pose an existential challenge. How can corals sustain themselves when their energy factories falter? Long-term experiments simulating future ocean conditions reveal grim projections. Under sustained high CO2 scenarios, coral species subjected to both elevated temperature and acidification show marked declines in survival and reproductive success. Some corals can temporarily increase productivity under moderate CO2 increases, but this is rapidly offset by bleaching and decreased calcification under more extreme conditions. The fragility of crucial reef-building species like acropora and porites suggests that coral reefs worldwide may face a tipping point within decades. This delicate balance underscores a haunting truth. The ocean's ability to absorb carbon dioxide, once a blessing, now becomes a curse for its most vital ecosystems. Are we witnessing the beginning of a mass coral extinction, or is there a path to resilience hidden within this complex environmental puzzle? Despite these daunting challenges, science and human ingenuity offer paths toward mitigating the impacts. Restoration projects employ innovative techniques to breed heat-tolerant corals, encourage reef regeneration, and reduce local stressors such as pollution and overfishing. Marine protected areas provide refuges where reefs can recover and maintain biodiversity, though these zones alone cannot counter global acidification. Advances in satellite monitoring, underwater sensors, and genetic research allow scientists to track reef health and intervene swiftly. Policies targeting climate change mitigation, carbon emission reductions, and sustainable fisheries are crucial. However, the success of these measures hinges on global commitment and urgency. Can humanity summon the collective will to save these irreplaceable ecosystems before it's too late? In the eerie silence following coral bleaching, one perceives an underwater void, a loss heavier than just coral skeletons. The reef's collapse invites a haunting question. What ecosystems will replace these complex, labyrinthine habitats? Already, evidence points to algal overgrowth and simpler benthic communities taking over degraded reefs. This shift favors fewer species, reducing ecological functions and resilience, while transforming the oceanscape from vibrant kaleidoscopes of life into muted monotones. The disappearance of reef builders like corals and coralline algae erases the scaffolding on which countless marine creatures depend. What will the future ocean look like if the voices of coral reefs vanish? The question lingers, wrapped in the mystery and shadow of what science is only beginning to understand. As we look deeper into the ocean's darkest mysteries, the story of the megafauna, those immense creatures that have ruled the sea, unfolds with eerie twists. The giants of the ocean, from massive whales to tremendous manta rays, are making a stunning but fragile comeback. Yet their survival is shadowed by a host of lurking dangers. These marine titans, once pushed to the brink by hunting and habitat loss, now face new threats that are less visible but no less deadly. Ocean ecosystems are intricately balanced, and the absence or decline of these giants sends shockwaves through the food web. Their roles as apex predators and ecosystem engineers are irreplaceable, and their return stirs something primal, mingled with foreboding. What hidden struggles do these giants face beneath the waves as they claw back from near oblivion? Take the whale sharks, those immense and gentle filter feeders that glide silently through tropical seas, reaching lengths of up to 40 feet. Once assumed to be a rarity, recent surveys have astonishingly reported increasing sightings in certain parts of the world, fueling hope for this enigmatic species. Yet the whale shark's life remains shrouded in mystery. Little is known about their migration patterns or reproduction, making conservation efforts a challenging puzzle. These creatures are vulnerable to fishing gear entanglements, boat strikes, and the degradation of critical habitats such as coral reefs and coastal lagoons where juveniles grow. Each threat echoes the fragility of these peaceful monsters in a human-dominated ocean. How will they navigate the growing labyrinth of hazards to reclaim their ancestral kingdoms? Beyond whale sharks, ocean giants like manta rays tell their own tales of decline and hopeful recovery. These winged predators, often reaching 20 feet across, have plummeted in numbers due to targeted fishing for their gill plates, prized in traditional medicines. Some regions report population crashes of up to 79% in recent decades, an ecological horror story written in the silent compound fractures of their fragile skeletons. Yet special protections and fishing bans in parts of Southeast Asia and the Indo-Pacific suggest a hopeful twist. Slowly, manta rays are reappearing in their ancient feeding grounds, dazzling as ever with their graceful, ballet-like movements through sun-dappled waters. Their recovery hinges on balancing human use with preservation, a fine line where every success is tentative and every failure catastrophic. What unseen forces help or hinder their survival in a world vastly altered? The deep ocean hides further mysteries where adaptation reaches its most surreal extremes. Here, we find species that challenge our definitions of life and survival, from the giant amphipods scavenging near hydrothermal vents to elusive bioluminescent creatures that glow with alien light. Some of these animals may be evolutionary relics, living fossils tracing lineage back hundreds of millions of years, yet now confined to shrinking refuges as ocean chemistry and temperatures shift. The discovery of new species continues to surprise scientists, but the deep sea remains largely unexplored, a realm where darkness and pressure forge the extraordinary. Could there be undiscovered giants or unknown behaviors that hold clues to resilience in the deep? The ocean's depths are a cryptic archive of survival where every revelation is tinged with the awe of the unknown. Despite pockets of recovery, the overall trajectory of ocean megafauna is precarious. Many species remain critically endangered or vulnerable, their populations far from safe. The causes are multifaceted: habitat destruction wrought by coastal development and pollution, entanglement in fishing gear, ship strikes, climate change altering ocean currents and prey distribution, and invasive species disrupting ecosystems. The whale pump, the nutrient cycling role that large whales play to fertilize surface waters, is diminished, reducing productivity in vast oceanic regions. Without these giants, entire ecosystems risk collapse, a silent unraveling that extends beyond charismatic species to the tiniest plankton and beyond. How resilient can the ocean be if its largest contributors to ecosystem health continue fading away? Humanity's footprint weighs heavy on marine giants, but a narrative of cooperation and conservation emerges as a vital counterpoint. International agreements, marine protected areas, and community-driven conservation initiatives have shown promise, allowing some species to stabilize or grow in number. For example, the return of fin whales to historic feeding grounds, once nearly eradicated by hunting, marks a triumph of global efforts to curb whaling and mitigate human impact. Scientific collaboration, satellite tracking, and policy enforcement underpin this progress, yet achievements remain fragile. Many ocean giants live on the knife edge, their survival contingent on sustained human commitment. What roles will science, policy, and public awareness play in tipping the balance toward recovery rather than extinction? One of the most haunting challenges lies in the unseen impacts. Noise pollution from shipping and exploration disrupts whale communication. Microplastics infiltrate food chains, poisoning marine life. Climate change alters ocean chemistry, affecting prey availability and breeding behaviors. These threats are less visible than harpoons or nets, but no less deadly. Marine giants, adapted over millennia to precise ecological conditions, face a rapidly changing environment where evolutionary adaptation may not keep pace. The ocean itself feels the weight of these losses, transformed from a dynamic, interconnected system into a fragmented and stressed environment. How will the ocean's giants adapt? Or will we witness a silent extinction that leaves waters ghostly and void of the creatures that once ruled them? As the curtain falls on this chapter, the mystery remains. The ocean giants are returning, but the world they return to is not the same. Their revival is a signal of resilience but also a call to vigilance. These species carry the legacies of ancient oceans and the hopes for future ecosystems. Their stories are filled with wonder, resilience, and dire warnings. The question lingers, can the giants reclaim their realms in oceans still altered by human hands? Or will they become spectral memories, a haunting reminder of a lost age where giants ruled the vast blue depths? Imagine coral reefs, those stunning underwater cities built inch by inch over millennia, suddenly turned from vibrant, bustling ecosystems into fragile, crumbling skeletons. Corals build their homes using calcium carbonate, a material painstakingly secreted to create complex three-dimensional structures. But as the ocean absorbs increasing levels of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, it becomes more acidic, disrupting this delicate construction process. The chemistry changes ever so slightly. The availability of carbonate ions, essential for coral skeletons, declines. This makes it difficult for corals to deposit new calcium carbonate, leading to thinner, weaker skeletons. What was once a fortress of life slowly erodes, leaving behind a vulnerable framework that can no longer withstand the assaults of storms, waves, and marine life that bore into their surfaces. Coupled with this chemical assault is the insidious process of coral bleaching, a phenomenon tied to rising sea temperatures and ocean acidification. Stress caused by warmer waters forces corals to expel the tiny symbiotic algae, zooxanthellae, that live within their tissues. These algae are the coral's primary source of energy, and their vibrant colors arise from this partnership. When expelled, corals turn ghostly white and struggle for survival. Ocean acidification exacerbates this stress, interfering with corals' ability to photosynthesize effectively and regenerate lost tissue. The result is a dangerous ripple. Bleached corals grow more slowly, become more susceptible to disease, and reproduce less successfully, triggering a slow collapse of the reef infrastructure. This process is gradual but relentless, posing profound questions. How long can reefs endure this double-edged threat? Not all corals respond equally to these threats. Some massive coral species, like porites, appear more resilient, holding their ground in slightly more acidic conditions. However, branching corals like Acropora, which contribute enormously to reef complexity, are far more vulnerable and are disappearing at an alarming rate. Importantly, calcareous algae, specifically crustose coralline algae, play a vital role by acting as natural cement, stabilizing the reef and providing vital settlement surfaces for new corals. Acidification causes these algae to bleach and decline rapidly, further undermining the reef's structural integrity. Without these biological architects, reefs lose their complexity, becoming flatter and more uniform. This loss of architectural diversity means fewer hiding places and breeding grounds for countless fish and invertebrates, altering the entire ecosystem's balance and reducing biodiversity. The cascading effects reach far beyond the reefs themselves. Coral reefs support more than a quarter of all marine species, providing shelter, feeding, and breeding spaces. As reefs degrade, the intricate food webs they sustain begin to unravel, threatening commercially important fish stocks and disrupting coastal fisheries that millions rely on for food and income. The protective barrier detail corals once provided to shorelines diminishes, increasing vulnerability to erosion, storm surge, and flooding. These losses have socioeconomic ramifications, particularly for communities deeply connected to the sea. Coral degradation isn't just an environmental loss. It's a threat to cultural identity, economic security, and human well-being. We must ask ourselves, what price are we willing to pay for ignoring these silent signals from the ocean? At the microscopic level, acidification undermines the core biological processes that keep coral reefs thriving. Coral calcification, the process of building their skeletons, relies on the deposition of aragonite crystals. Acidic water interferes with this crystal formation by reducing the saturation state of aragonite, effectively starving corals of the raw materials needed to grow and repair. Furthermore, the symbiotic algae's photosynthesis becomes impaired due to changes in light absorption and the buildup of damaging reactive oxygen species, causing oxidative stress and cellular damage. This dual hit, the weakening of coral skeletons and deteriorating energy production, leaves corals vulnerable to breakage and disease. In a way, acidification is a silent thief, robbing corals of their strength and vitality piece by piece. Experiments simulating future ocean conditions paint a stark picture. Under increased CO2 concentrations predicted for mid to late this century, many coral species demonstrate reduced growth rates, lowered reproductive success, and increased mortality. Particularly sensitive species that build reefs quickly are expected to suffer the most, threatening the very formation of new reef structures. This leads to reefs that not only shrink in size but also become less structurally complex and diverse. Such changes decrease the reef's ability to provide essential ecosystem services, from fish habitat to coastal protection. Scientists warn that some regions, like the Coral Triangle, one of the world's most biodiverse marine areas, may experience drastic declines in coral skeleton density and reef complexity within decades. It's a gradual unraveling of nature's architecture, but one with irreversible consequences. Yet amidst this chemical threat, scientists and conservationists explore innovative ways to bolster reef resilience. Assisted evolution programs seek to cultivate corals more tolerant to heat and acidity, striving to push the limits of natural adaptation. Marine protected areas reduce local stressors like overfishing and pollution, providing refuges where corals stand a better chance of survival. Restoration efforts involve transplanting corals onto degraded reefs and controlling invasive species that threaten native biodiversity. Meanwhile, global climate action aimed at drastically reducing CO2 emissions remains critical. Without it, these localized efforts may fall short. The interplay between global policy and on-the-ground action creates a complex mosaic of hope and urgency. Can these combined strategies stem the tide of coral reef decline before the delicate balance irrevocably tips? Beneath the surface, in silent shadows, the consequences of failing coral reefs ripple through ocean life. As reefs become dominated by algae and simpler species, the vibrant, labyrinthine ecosystems transition toward monotony. This structural simplification offers fewer refuges, reduced food availability, and diminished reproductive opportunities for myriad species, from tiny crustaceans to large fish. The underwater soundscape changes, with quieter, less diverse reefs reflecting altered community dynamics. The domino effect extends beyond biodiversity loss to threaten the resilience and productivity of entire marine ecosystems. What emerges in place of thriving coral reefs is a shadow realm, a somber reminder of what ceases to be when ecosystems unravel at their foundation. The ocean's voice dims, and with it, the intricate song of life beneath the waves grows faint.